Hi, welcome to the IHC Craft Room. I'm Mary. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I made these wax melts gifts for Christmas. I made these for my friends and family, and I'm going to show you all the steps and materials that I took to get them to this point. I know they're a little bit hard to see because of the cellophane, which is why I'm moving them around like a weirdo, but I do want you to understand that inside of here is actually a tea light melter too, so that they can actually melt the melts as soon as they get them. Talk about an all-inclusive, highly customizable gift that you can make for all of your friends and family under a budget. So grab all your stuff and let's get crafty.
This is Mary. Welcome to the IHC Craft Room. For materials, we'll begin with Pillar Soy Wax, some clamshells. I have a 6-cavity, a pie-shaped, and some snap bar. Red liquid candle dye, 125 mils of fragrance oil in Silent Night and Black Raspberry Vanilla. One 17-ounce mason jar that I picked up from Dollarama. 2 8-ounce candle tins, black and wood grain. And some tea light warmers. I picked these up at the Dollar Tree. 2 black, 2 gray, and 2 white. I love them. Some Handmade with Love stickers. I also used some 1.25-inch white labels a little later. And 4 different types of skinny ribbon, black and white checkered, iridescent white, gold, and silver. Some tea lights, some caution labels, and some cellophane wrap. For tools, we'll be using some parchment paper, paper towels, a kitchen scale, a pot holder, a 4-cup glass measuring cup, and a 5-ounce glass measuring cup, some toothpicks, a pair of scissors, some wood stir sticks, a whole bunch of different Christmas-themed silicone molds, and a pair of rubber gloves. Let's get started by measuring out our wax so that we can prepare to melt it in the microwave. Hey, everybody in the peanut gallery, what time is it? That's right, it's time for wax melt maker math. I'm planning on making one of each clamshell per fragrance, and then I'll pour the rest of the wax into the silicone molds and see how much I get. So that means I'm really shooting in the dark here in terms of my total yield. I don't really know how much I'll need, so I decided to aim for an overall total of 400 grams of melted wax and fragrance with a 10% fragrance load. Normally I would have done a 12% load for melts, but since I'm gifting these, I don't want them to be too much. So overall, I'm gonna need 360 grams of wax and 40 grams of oil per fragrance in order to fill up all of the clamshells and have some left over for the silicone molds. That means I'll be using about 720 grams of total wax and 80 grams of combined fragrance oil. So let's go ahead and measure out 360 grams of wax so that it's all set to go into the microwave. Next, I'm going to protect my scale and tabletop using a combo of parchment paper and paper towels. If you're new here, my name is Mary and I spill fragrance all the live long day, which is why I protect my scale and table and also why I wear gloves and always have some paper towels handy. That's just me. You do you. Now let's measure out 40-ish grams of Silent Night fragrance oil. This fragrance has a real comforting mint scent. Not super harsh, but fresh and cool and crisp. I love it. Now let's head over to the microwave and start melting the wax. The manufacturer recommends melting the wax in 30-second bursts while stirring in between each set of 30. But I've become rebellious as I approach the age of 45, so I left the wax in for a full minute and a half before the first stir. Somebody stop me. Melting wax in the microwave is definitely faster than the double boiler method, but watch out for that handle because it gets super toasty. You've been warned. That doesn't mean I didn't burn my hands though, guys, just for the record. Just because I warn you doesn't mean I actually heed my own warnings, you know? Now that my wax is melted, it's at 181 degrees, which is an excellent temperature to add in the fragrance oil. And then we're going to give it a really big stir and make sure the wax and fragrance oil really mix together well. I should have let this cool down to at least 140 degrees or so, but I for sure didn't. And yet the world didn't end. So, not a big deal really. I'm gonna make sure to fill my clamshells first and pour them right up to the top, but don't let them overflow. For the silicone molds, I would have definitely been easier if I had tracked down one of those pipettes I destroyed in one of my previous videos, but I figured with the spout on this measuring cup, it shouldn't be too hard to keep the spillover to a minimum. It really wasn't that bad actually, except that my arm got tired and so did my hand and wrist, but if I was planning to make these regularly, I'd have to do some research on a better way that's more friendly to my hands and arms. Let's skip ahead about an hour and a half, and I'm gonna go ahead and demold these melts. I could have left them to harden a bit longer, but since Pillar Wax is known to be a bit more strong than other soy waxes, I decided to live on the edge and only wait about 90 minutes. Ooh, what a rebel. Almost every single one came out without any trouble at all. The ones that I overpoured were super simple to clean up using a toothpick, so no problems there. I have to say the melts popped out much more easily when I had the molds upside down, but regardless, any way you slice it, silicone molds are like super simple and easy to work with, so no complaints from me. I'm going to spare you from watching me measure out another 360 grams of wax and 40-ish mils of fragrance oil, and also from melting it in the microwave too. Let's go ahead and give that fragrance oil a really good stir. I added 12 drops of red candle dye because I really want this red to be vibrant, to give us that classic Christmas vibe. Plus, it helps people know which scented melt they're about to experience. It's important to really mix the wax and fragrance oil well so that they have a chance to bind together. I once again poured this wax at a higher temperature than is recommended. Let's see how that plays out for me. I had a similar experience pouring these melts, again at a bit too high of a temperature. This time I poured red scented wax into clamshells and silicone molds just as easily as I did before. And unfortunately, again, I really struggled keeping my arms and hands under control from the combined weight of the glass measuring cup, the melted wax, and gravity. By the end, my last mold was a little, well, white girl wasted messy, but hey, no big deal. I'll clean those melts up with a toothpick later. Again, I waited an hour and a half to demold these melts and didn't have any trouble getting them out of the molds or cleaning up the ones that were a bit messy with a toothpick. And as for these clamshells, let's let these cure for 24 hours before we see how they set. It's now been about 24 hours since I poured these melts, and I'm super pleased with the results. I was expecting some frosting on my red, black, raspberry, vanilla melts because soy often frosts with color. And I wasn't shy about adding it either, but there is no frosting at all. I'm super pleased. And I'm also super pumped that there are no wet spots on the red or the white clamshells. I really thought that since I poured these melts at a bit higher of a temperature than I should have, that I'd probably see some frosting and some wet spots and possibly even some sinkholes, but no way. These are all beautiful and nearly perfect. I'm super pleased. Now, before we wrap these up into some pretty Christmas presents, let's give these melts a little melt test, shall we? I'm going to start this melt test with Silent Night, and it took little to no time for this melt to, well, do its job and melt and release some awesome fragrance. If you've never used a tea light warmer before, be prepared for a good time. All you have to do is light the tea light and enjoy. From start to finish, it took about 10 minutes from lighting the tea light to get to this full melt pool, which is barely any time at all, really. And it took about the same amount of time to test this black raspberry vanilla melt as well. I got a great scent throw from these too. Melts are such a great way to get some awesome scent without a long time commitment. Fantastic! Now that we know our melts are doing their jobs, let's get these wrapped up for the holidays, shall we? First, let's get these cute Christmas shaped melts and pop them into our containers. I tried to make it an even split between each scent and a mixture of shapes too. Cause variety is the spice of life, my friends. Now let's make sure to add some warning labels to the bottom of these containers because I am giving these away. It's better to be safe than sorry. I'm going to add them to the bottoms of the clamshells too. Next, I decided to label each container with the scents inside. You can skip this step if you'd prefer to leave some mystery in the air, but I didn't. In fact, since I wanted people to know what scent they were about to melt, I renamed Silent Night to a name that explains the scent a bit more. So for my friends and fam, Silent Night will actually be called Crisp Winter Mint. Okay, now that our melts are packed, let's get to wrapping. Now, you can totally skip this part too and just slide these into a cute Christmas bag with some tissue on top and you've got yourself a party. But I wanted to go the cellophane route because I love the look of these tea light warmers and I just couldn't cover them up. Like this was their time to shine. I used a little piece of pipe cleaner to help me cinch the cellophane together at the top and then used some nice long pieces of ribbon to tie a cute little bow on top. If you struggle with bows, remember that if you can tie your shoelaces, you can always tie a simple little bow like the ones on your shoelaces just using your fingers. Or just skip the bow completely. Just let the ribbons hang in waves. Not everything has to be an epic event, you know? It's still gonna look super cute, trust me. There, we did it! Each of these little gifts contains some handmade scented wax melts, a tea light warmer, and a tea light, so you can just cut it open, light your tea light, and enjoy. Love it.
So what do you think? They came out really cute, right? And again, super, super customizable. That's a big deal for me. I like to make sure that I can customize things to my taste and also to the people that I'm giving them to. I mean, you can change the different fragrances that you're using in the melts. You can use a totally different tea light melter. You can use a different container, maybe a different clamshell. There's so many ways that you can change and customize this so that it suits you and suits the person that you're gifting it to. And really, who's going to turn down a handmade gift made with all the love in your heart? If they do turn it down, don't give them a gift again because they don't deserve one from you, okay? Anyway, I just wanted to say I loved making this. I hope you enjoyed making them with me, and I can't wait to hear what you think in the comments below. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about candle making or wreath making or dot painting or some general crafting ideas, check out one of these videos. And don't forget to subscribe so that we can continue to get crafty together. Toodaloo!